Intensity. It's more than just the tone of our voice or the force that we put behind it. It's in the words that we choose as well. I mean, let's face it, some adjectives are just ordinary, like cool. Hey, cool car. While other adjectives naturally grab more attention, like phenomenal. So why is it this way? Now you might want to say, well, if phenomenal is a flashier way to describe and grabs more attention than just saying cool, well then I'm going to use phenomenal all the time. But hold on. You cannot just say that everything that's cool is phenomenal. Or that anything that is not cool is not phenomenal. You'd sound like a complete dork. Think about it. The exact same thing is true in Spanish. The thing is that ordinary adjectives like cool have a much broader range of usefulness than flashier adjectives like phenomenal. This range helps us to use the word cool in terms of how cool or qué tan cool, because we have this set of adverbs that helps us to express cool in degrees from low to high intensity. And it's only when it gets to the highest intensity that it's synonymous with phenomenal. Or take an adjective like angry. There are a lot of degrees to angry. Someone could be a little angry, fairly angry, very angry, or even extremely angry. Now, if I use a synonymous adjective like furious, when you think about it, there are no degrees to furious. For example, how does it sound to say very furious? And you may think, well, I don't know English that well, so who am I to judge? I don't know. Okay, but in Spanish, I can say muy enojado. Pero ¿cómo te parece si digo muy fúrico? It sounds a little strange, doesn't it? And that's because it is strange to say that. Because that same reasoning applies in Spanish too. And it's even stranger if you say un poco fúrico.
Ayer me puse un poco fúrico.
Un poco fúrico.
Bueno, pues sí, más o menos fúrico. Porque estaba en el periférico y me encontré encerrado por un par de surus. Ya sabes, estos autos más lentos de todas las carreteras. Y yo atrapado en su apestosa burbuja de 40 kilómetros por hora. No, hombre. No hay nadie que no sale por lo menos ligeramente fúrico con esa sobredosis de popularidad vial. No sé si me explico.
Pues sí, se nota tu furia, tu ligera furia. Fúrico already has muy or extremadamente naturally built into it. Y nada de un poco o ligeramente. Igual, como no decimos más mejor, porque mejor ya tiene la calidad de más, pues fúrico ya tiene la calidad de muy. No podemos calificarlo con nada de esto. And so we know that about Spanish. And it's good to know that English is exactly the same way in this regard. And that there are many ways to avoid saying very all the time. So let's look at a case where we use particular adjectives and adverbs to manipulate how we visualize something in terms of intensity. Okay, let's start with Darth and Obi-Wan got into a dangerous fight. It's because they were using lightsabers, and lightsabers are really dangerous. And Darth was angry. Okay, I'll give that sentence about a 5 on the intensity scale. Let's tweak it a little bit, shall we? Darth and Obi-Wan got into a very dangerous fight. Darth was really angry. That sounds a little more intense, right? Maybe like a 7 or an 8, I would give it. Yeah. How about this? Darth and Obi-Wan got into a lethal fight, and Darth was furious. Now that, for me, goes all the way up to 10. That's heavy-duty, dangerous, and angry. Is it even possible to be more intense than that?
This is a top to, what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the
and then
amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it? It's not 10. You see, most blokes, be playing at 10. You're on 10 here, all the way up, all the way up,
Yeah.
all the way up. You're on 10 on your guitar. Where can you go from there? Where?
I don't know.
Nowhere, exactly. What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly. One louder.
How can we push this to 11? Well, we actually have adverbs that can add emphasis and impact to already flashy adjectives like lethal and furious. Like this. Darth and Obi-Wan got into a terrifyingly lethal fight. Darth was absolutely furious. Now that's powerful. And so each of these versions paints a distinct picture in the mind. When I think of it at 5 on the intensity scale, I visualize something like this.
You should not have come back.
But when I think of it, like at 10 or 11 on the intensity scale, I visualize something more like this. Yeah, more like that. So the particular words that we use when communicating something have particular impact on the way that people comprehend what we are saying. Now, the ordinary adjectives are called gradable adjectives because they can be expressed with a diversity of degrees using adverbs of intensity, while the flashy, attention-grabbing adjectives are called non-gradable because they automatically represent the highest level of intensity. And any adverbs used with them only serve to affirm or emphasize that. So we've already seen that cool is a gradable adjective and that phenomenal is a non-gradable adjective. And we've seen the same with angry and furious. And there are many other examples. But here we're going to show you just a few. For example, bad. And then a more intense version of bad, awful. Or take big, and then you have a more intense synonym with gigantic. Or take happy. Or delighted. Afraid, terrified, sad, devastated. Now I'm going to show you a really short paragraph here with some ordinary adjectives, and then we're going to look at it with some adverbs of intensity placed with those ordinary adjectives and bring it to life a little bit.
A big fish had a bad day when a happy fisherman hooked it and pulled it out of the water. But the fish was afraid because it knew the man was going to eat it. So it started flipping and flapping around and escaped, and the fisherman was sad.
It's fine the way that it is, but let's add something a little extra to it. We could say a fairly big fish had a very bad day when a rather happy fisherman hooked it and pulled it out of the water. But the fish was extremely afraid because it knew the man was going to eat it. So it started flipping and flapping around and escaped, and the fisherman was quite sad. That's a little better. Has a little more flavor to it. A little more drama. Not much, but a little. But let's see what we can do to spice it up just a little bit more. Shall we?
A gigantic fish had an awful day when a delighted fisherman hooked it and pulled it out of the water. But the fish was terrified because it knew the man was going to eat it. So it started flipping and flapping around and escaped, and the fisherman was devastated.
Now that sounds a little more dramatic, doesn't it? Can we do any more with it? Can we just exaggerate it a little more to make it sound super dramatic? I think we can. Let's give it a try. An absolutely gigantic fish had a truly awful day when a thoroughly delighted fisherman hooked it and pulled it out of the water. But the fish was mortally terrified because it knew the man was going to eat it. So it started flipping and flapping around and escaped, and the fisherman was utterly devastated. Now that may just be a little over the top or just as near the top as we can get it. But look at those adverbs. They're very different from the ones that you would use with the ordinary gradable adjectives, because these are either affirming or emphasizing the high intensity that's already there, giving it even more impact. Well, while adjectives and adverbs as presented in a textbook can literally induce vomiting among learners at any age, I hope that this video has been able to bring them to life a bit and show just how powerful they can be for your communication out in the everyday real world. See you next time. Have a good one.